70,000.
Thanks for turning out for the, budget committee meeting.
They're gone, they're in,
We're in session now. The minutes would show all but Mr. Rapper are here. He's on his way. He's on his way. We're gonna modify the agenda just a little bit. We're gonna add another public comment section after business and right before adjournment. So it'll be a public comment here in a minute, and then after business and before we adjourn, there'll be another time for public comment. So with that, the next item on the agenda is public comments. If you have public comments, please just state your name for the record, and please try to keep them to 5 minutes or under. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, we'll dive right into the next item on the agenda, which is review and approve the February 4, 2025 Budget Committee meeting minutes. Any discussion? Motion? Okay.
Who was the first? And second was?
You made one.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. I'll pass this around. So the next item on the agenda is reviewing the budget, and this evening we'll be reviewing just the police department and code enforcement portion. There was, there's a question, or there's a change on the property tax from, if the manager and treasurer could just get on why that change is occurred.
When there's any changes to the expenses, that goes up, if the property tax may go up, if the expenses go down, the property tax goes down.
So overall expenses have gone down, property tax has gone down $134,500 tonight versus the fourth. And then the other thing was the ambulance. That was a formula challenge. On the fourth, the 2025 budget was $433,370. I'm sorry, it was $433,369. There's a $1 difference. I don't think that's what caused the formula adjustment, but just for your awareness. And then, of course, other expenses went down because we recommend taking out the $40,000 fraud. So those are the only changes. So okay, we'll ask the chief who's here to talk about his department's budget if he's got anything to say before we jump into the numbers. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is my first budget committee meeting, so I'm more nervous than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I hope I can do a good job for you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chair. I'd like to recognize, first of all, Kevin and Tammy. Their tireless efforts at helping a new police chief in a hard learning curve create this final draft, which represents the minimum cost of maintaining a police department with less than 24-hour coverage, utilizing 1 patrol unit per shift. The hurdles we had to overcome from last year's budget were substantial, not the least of which is a significant increase in the line item for the police chief's salary over the minimal $20,000 stipend from 2024. A substantial hourly pay rate increase approved by the council before I started here. Unfunded state mandates, which of course were a sucker punch from behind that we weren't expecting, requiring technology updates for obsolete computers and cameras. The expiration of the COPS grant, which had been partially funding a full-time officer for 3 years. And then finally, lease payment commitments for the new vehicle and other equipment that were originally intended to be satisfied by the reserve equipment account and not from the annual police department budget. What does this budget accomplish over the last realistic draft that you saw? Well, a good faith effort is forthcoming, right? We eliminated one full-time position. We strategically implemented on-call time with no officer on duty. It reduces the fleet from 5 vehicles to 3. It reduces hours for full-time employees from a 40-hour work week to 32 to 34 hours, depending on the schedule rotation. It eliminates all training and any associated travel expenses except for annual firearms requalifications required by Maine law. It eliminates overtime for all officers except when called out, and even then, we're going to try and get them to take comp time because the town can't afford the overtime in pay. It eliminates the funds to send an officer to the academy this year. It eliminates reserve hours for special events, such as the grass drags. It absolutely eliminates the possibility of securing additional revenue from subsidy towns for contractual police services. The presentation appointments that Tyler painstakingly set up for me with the 3 surrounding towns interested in perhaps contracting for police services from us have been canceled, and the town council chair has been advised. Finally, it keeps the police department open for another year, giving me critical time to secure the necessary additional annual funding that the town can't afford through grants and other revenue so that we are not in the same boat next year. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have of me.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The subsidy talks, can you kind of explain that? I didn't quite understand that.
We eliminated a full-time position, so we no longer have the personnel to take our show on the road.
Okay.
If we eliminate a full-time position, that we tap out in order to be able to provide these services to other towns. We're gonna, as it is, we're implementing on-call time that we didn't want to have to do at strategic times. But as it is now, we can't even offer the town of Ashland around-the-clock physical coverage. So we certainly don't have the personnel to take our show on the road to other towns.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely a cost of what we had to do here with this amended budget.
That was an unknown.
It's unfortunate too, because it's my understanding.
Yeah, it was unknown, and I could like to add on that, because I had conversations with some selectmen from the surrounding towns and some tax payers that own commercial properties.
Mm-hmm.
The concern was there was a window open if we'd had a full force to discuss potential coverage because of issues with both Nashville at the Irving Mill and at the Masardis Mill that they bought. And then Portage itself actually expressed an interest in having a dialogue in that, and this happened actually before last week's incident. So there was interest there, and we were looking at an opportunity that we could help defray some of our costs by having these subsidies, whatever we could offer for potential service. But with this, as the chief said, budget that reduces that one full-time FTE, we don't have the ability to provide an outside service.
I realize we don't have the ability now. I would hope that council continues the dialogue.
Yes.
Because they may very well be able to get the subsidy this year, and then we could hire an officer. So
Right.
I was a little disheartened to hear the chief say it's basically shut it down. I think it's changed the dynamics, but I think the dialogue, if you got a dialogue going,
Right.
the key is you put the cart before the horse. So the taxpayers of Ashland, I don't think, want to take that risk, thinking there's going to be a subsidy, but in the same token, I think the taxpayers of Ashland understand that you have to have those talks. So I hope that the council will continue the talks that you've already started in that aspect. And that, I'll just leave that up to you.
Can I make just one comment on that?
Sure.
I would welcome the chance to do that, because I actually secured the help of Mark Sperry, who's a retired Maine trooper, and he's in charge of security for Irving in this area. So now he's responsible for security at both those mills since they bought Daquan. he said, not only are we gonna advocate for your department with these councils, he agreed to come with me in person to each one of these presentations as a show of support from Irving to be able to get these subsidy towns. I just couldn't believe the cooperation that we were getting from them. He thinks it's very important that we have the ability to offer these services to those towns that have the mill.
Okay, so that's fine, chief.
Yeah.
So that's a discussion to have with council, and hopefully the manager can get
Right.
you on the council agenda, and then they can have you move forward. Tonight's discussion is on the 2025 budget, which we have to pay, and so that's gonna be the focus of the discussion. So, committee members, any questions, comments for either the chief or the manager?
I'm going to complicate things.
Isn't that right?
Please take one and pass it on.
Is this new?
This is new. This is not, we have not sat back and just said, we're gonna give you one and then stop. We've been working diligently for the last 3 days since you gave us the options.
The whole thing.
This
The whole thing.
bottom line on this version is exactly the same, okay, as the one that we handed to, yesterday for tonight's meeting.
Right.
The difference is, the one that you got is, we ran that without health insurance coverage for the chief. He asked us to see what it would look like without that. He was going to forego that. But we went back and his officers, came on board and said, look, that doesn't make a lot of sense. He should be afforded the benefits just like everybody else that's a staff member for the town.
Oh, so,
For the chief, right.
so,
So we put back in the health insurance that we pulled out, and we readjusted the schedule, as he just alluded to get to those hours that he stated, along with the reduction of that FTE, so that the bottom line does not change based on what we did give you, which is a $499, $855 for the police department budget. And it doesn't change anything what the chief said about the full FTE and not being able to send somebody to the academy, which means one of the savings was the fact that we're not gonna have to worry about having to pay for a cadet at the academy and having to backfill that person. That's why we were able to get these numbers down.
so salaries has come down.
Right.
All the officers but the chief have taken a reduction. Is that in the hourly rate?
No, just in the hours
Hours?
worked, yeah.
So how does the one you just handed us differ from the one we got for this evening, which you said had reduced hours? Because the salary is much lower on the one you gave us this evening than it is on the one we got
Correct.
for this.
We were, at 30, I think a 36-hour work week on the one that we handed to you for tonight's meeting. But again, they've gone and sharpened the pencil on.
So how did we, so I'm a little confused, because earlier the chief said 32 to 34.
Right.
Did you cover that? Now you've changed that. Does that change?
No, no,
Does
that,
that-
this is the
This is
32 to
34?
34. Yes.
This was at
Right,
36.
then, great. Thank you.
But this adds back in the insurance.
It does, right, but it doesn't change the bottom line. We were able to adjust the schedule so that the chief gets to keep his
Okay,
insurance.
so I went back and I watched your January meeting, and in that meeting, Chris brought up that the chief, where he was getting health insurance and retirement from the Maine State Police benefits, he would not take that from us. That's what Chris said in your January 14th meeting.
Oh, well, I can't speak for the council, so.
He did say it. I watched
I guess-
it.
Yeah, I know, but I can't speak for him.
Okay,
You know.
So I guess what is,
So,
go ahead.
why would we be adding it back in if he gets it in lieu of?
So the question, the other question is, I understand the chief has a contract,
Correct.
is the health insurance in or out of the contract?
Yeah, the contract, says, it says he's afforded the same benefits as
Yeah.
the staff.
Okay.
So is it
So
gonna be
why-
like a tax in lieu of?
Say again?
I said, if he doesn't need the insurance, is it gonna be tax in lieu of? Is he gonna get cash in lieu of instead of?
No, he
insurance?
is taking the health plan.
So it's not
Yeah.
a cash in lieu of?
Correct.
Plus, he
So-
gets the health insurance from the state police.
But,
I can't speak to
Yeah.
that, that's not my,
but
Well,
I
it was
guess,
brought up in public forum, I mean,
right, well, yeah,
so I'm trying to set it right in my head that, okay, so now the town of Ashland's paying for it, when he's already getting it.
yeah, but that's, the contract said he was afforded that. But what I'm trying to get my head wrapped around is, you've reduced the number of hours of coverage for the town in order to pay for the chief's health insurance. Is that a correct statement?
you can look at it that way.
I mean, that's correct, I mean,
That's a correct statement.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Or are you adding in the police officer for police officer? What, are you adding back in another police officer?
No.
No.
Where did you go?
So in order to reduce the wages, Patrol 1, Patrol 2, and put Patrol 3 in the reserve, in the on-call, that's where you're evening out the ability to pay full insurance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, reserve officers still, they don't have that anymore.
Well, I know, but I'm just looking at the wage block here that's gone down substantially. 17,000.
So at the last meeting, can I bring up code enforcement? So at the last meeting, I was under the impression that we couldn't do anything with code enforcement anyways because it was already under contract. It was a contract between the two councils.
Correct.
Right.
But then, second one, we took it out, even though.
We took health benefit out
Right.
because it was being
Right.
prorated. Okay, but it's now back into this last reiteration.
Just into the PDs, or is that also in the code enforcement?
His is, he's split,
Is in both.
because he's in both positions, so it's an apportionment.
You know, it would've been nice if the manager could've gotten this to us. This is not a, in my humble opinion, a very professional approach. To lay this on the committee during the meeting, this substantive of change, because what you're saying is,
The bottom
we
line
know,
hasn't
I mean,
changed.
right, I agree, the bottom line hasn't changed, but the coverage for the town has changed in order to get to that bottom line. So as long as folks are aware of that, you know, I mean, that's, so on the one hand, we're talking, we need the coverage, but we can't afford it, and the next hand, we say, so we're gonna reduce the coverage, so we give the chief a benefit that he's entitled to. So the challenge was, if this was the approach the manager and the chief were going to take, it would've been nice to have seen this 2 days ago instead of this evening. Because it's not now it's not a simple, now the budget is down, which may not be down enough anyway, but in order to do that, we've done some figures, and now we've got less officer time on the streets. Just,
I'll take the hit for that, Chair, but the bottom line is, it's a moving document until the budget committee decides what they wanna do with it. and
It is,
same
Mr.
thing with the
Manager,
council.
it is, Mr. Manager, but in my 30-plus years or 40 years of experience in this kind of stuff, you don't make a change like that while the committee's at the table, and I'll say no more. So we're just looking at the numbers, it's come down from 47% to 23%. And on the estimated income, we see that reduction has helped reduce the property tax, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So from a budgetary perspective, that's come down and how their discussion, I think, is probably a council discussion. It's a little disappointing. The chief has this, it's a right to have this insurance, I'm not belittling that. It's putting him in an awkward position though, for the community. You know, I was a little disappointed that his officers, he said his officers felt that they should give up some of their time, some of their income for him to have the health insurance. And to me, that doesn't sit well. But, I mean, that's a decision that, the manager and the chief have made and will present to the council, yes.
So, the gas and oil went from, on the original one, from 10,000 to 21,105, am I seeing that correctly?
22. Went up 120%.
Oh,
That changed too?
yeah, a little, just a little bit, but they'll change, each one will change.
But not, it should not have affected the,
It doubled, well, over doubled. Am I seeing that wrong?
Oh, there's something happening.
That was,
And if we're having less,
right.
Mm-hmm.
The initial budget for that line item did not have the gas for the vehicle that the chief uses to commute with. So we needed to fix that line.
so is that a contractual requirement?
It is.
Okay. Are there any other numbers here that are not tied to salary that have changed? You know, all the benefits are tied to salary, so those are gonna change. The fuel changed, anything else changed that we needed to?
Oh.
I would hope you would know so. Uniforms has gone up $1,000, no, gone down $1,000.
I have a question. So, maybe I misunderstood something, sorry. Did I?
No, go ahead.
You're not mad at me?
No, I'm not, just irritated.
You had said, when you were talking, something about that wiped out your training, that you weren't gonna have any money to do training,
For this year.
but there's money in the budget.
Well, we've got to pay for the annual recertifications for the firearms, so there is a cost to that in terms of ammunition and such.
And that's under qualifications when you do your firearms and your guns, whatever. That's not included in that? Is that just registration fee to do that?
Qualifications, yeah, exactly.
Does registration make it start to do $2,000 to qualify?
No, cost of ammo, we have to.
Ammunition and such, yeah.
So the training is not the ammo.
Right.
So there is money in the budget for training.
Well, there's some money in there for reoccurring training, but.
Yeah, the
not-
chief,
as long as we don't-
you're missing the point. You tell us there's no money for training and there's money for training. You know, you guys need to shoot straight, you need to learn how to brief properly and not change numbers at the last minute. I mean, this is briefing 101, guys. Get your numbers right, get your story right, stick to it, because the more you change, the more we shoot holes in your statement and your credibility. I mean, I've got a half a notion to say, come back in 2 days when you have your shit together. I mean, I've been doing this too many years to see this kind of, this is unprofessional. I apologize for my irritation, but this committee's working very hard to do the right things for the town, and I'm disappointed.
I think that's one reason why we asked last year if we could meet earlier, so that we could, with each department, so that we could do this, and not be feeling like we have to hurry up and do it because it needs to pass to the council and all that. And I understand that it probably wasn't told to you or anybody that we had talked about that last year, so I'm not blaming you for that. But I'm just saying that that's a reason why, if we don't wanna be at the last minute, the last hour, whatever, to be going through these with the questions that we have, and then feel like we're under the gun to have something that we're not maybe ready to do.
Right.
And it's a pressure on them to
Right.
get ready, so, I don't know, I kind of,
And we're still looking at $500,000 for a police department for a town our size. From 600,000 to 500. And I don't think the citizens of Ashland are gonna go for it.
We got a 92,000. We got better coverage. Well, it's from a budgetary standpoint, to look at it this way. The, police department's come down, what's it, 192? Okay. We're recommending 40,000 be taken out of the budget, this budget, to try it. And then staff has recommended, or the council recommended reducing a position in the highway department, which brings down, the cost of the taxpayers. So the question is, has this come down enough? Is there enough, sharpening of the pencils in this, in this one, to warrant support from this committee to move this forward? Or is there more discussion?
I think more discussion.
Okay,
That's only mine.
that's fine, that's what we're here for. So comments?
Discussion with them, why not? Gotta do it more.
I can basically categorically tell you this bottom line on the police department doesn't change, or else you won't have a police department. So that's the decision you wanna bring to the council.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. Manager, so if we eliminate one officer position, you got a chief and 2 officers, that does away with the department. You have no departments, that what you're telling us?
I would share with you the sentiment of the police officers.
I don't want the sentiment of the police officers, Mr. Manager. I wanna know, from a manager's perspective, does that kill, you're saying that if you only have 1 chief and 2 officers in reserve, you no longer have a police department.
You have an on-call model, which is what you had for the last
Right.
5 years or 7 years, while
Right.
Sir Martin was chief of police.
Right.
That model probably will not serve this community based on the level of potential problems that are going on in this town at the moment.
I understand that, I think we all understand that, and that's the challenge, is that can the citizens of Ashland, the taxpayers, afford a $500,000 police department in Sandy County? Or do we do this a little slower? And that is the question. Does the town want an on-call, or does the town want full-time? And my sense is, that, we may need to stick with the on-call until we have more resources. I mean, nobody likes the tax rate to go up. Everybody wants police protection. Everybody wants good highway equipment. Everybody wants their roads plowed. Everybody wants a lot of stuff, and we can't afford it all. So where
Can
do
we afford a school district if it goes up? Do we have the same level of concern for that?
We have, our hands are tied. If the school budget goes up, we got no
We don't
choice.
know that, yeah.
And we don't know that. There's not a thing we can do about it. And unfortunately, in Maine, they pass a budget, we have to pay it. If we don't, they take it from us.
Do you have an electrical meter, Mr. Mayor, or Chairman?
Excuse me,
Do you have an electrical meter
for my,
for your house?
what does that have to do with this?
Well, again, we saw everybody increase in their own personal budgets. And what was the outrage to your state legislators on?
That is irrelevant. That is irrelevant.
Well,
Wait a minute, you're bringing state politics into local government. We're talking about local government, and what this committee's here to do is look at the budget for the town of Ashland, and only the town of Ashland, and any municipalities that pay a subsidy to any portion of it. We're not concerned about state and federal. We have no dog in that fight, not this committee.
So do any towns now pay for police protection out of the subsidy, the other towns? Do any other towns pay subsidy for police now, or is everybody pulled out of that?
Yeah, we have none of the
No,
surrounding
so
towns.
you don't have any.
Right.
I mean, a suggestion that council is continue those talks, maybe it's a revenue. But I don't want Ashland to be in town like some other municipalities where now we have to raise a mill rate to afford something that we like to have, but can't afford to have. I'd like a brand new car, can't afford it. So those are the trade-offs, and the council has made some of these trade-offs by contractual agreements it made, and so we're dealing with those, and that's life.
Well, that's the problem too, though, is because we don't know what the contracts have said, or the council has made contracts with these people, then we come to the budget committee, we don't know,
Well,
so.
we only know that when we
don't-
ask the
don't know
question.
until you ask the question,
Right,
and then
right.
we say, well, it's contracted.
Right.
Well, okay, so why have a budget committee?
Well, no, because, I mean,
You know,
that's.
Because there's so many things that we've heard that are contracted, well,
I really,
what do you do?
are all three patrol positions contracted?
No, just the lieutenant officers.
Right.
So, last time we were here, didn't we ask about that? And I thought that there were 3 that had signed contracts. Two had.
Two.
And the chief.
2 police officers and
Two
then the
officers
chief.
had a 1-year contract,
So
and the
that's-
chief has a 2-year.
So that's 3 that had already signed contracts.
2 officers.
So,
But they have no
So-
benefits. It was already been
Well,
decided.
not on those positions, but I understand the council raised the hourly wage for some of the officers to avoid them being snatched by other communities. I understand that. I mean, that's just life, what we have to pay, but the challenge is, can we afford, do we feel we can afford 3 officers and chief?
do I think we need 3 officers and a chief?
No, can we afford?
I'm just saying,
Yeah, do we need?
I do need.
Like the on-call,
What I'm saying is, we need them, but
Okay.
I don't think we can afford it. And I do support the police department. I was bail commissioner for 28 years. And I know what happens here in the middle of the night, because I sat up at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it makes me feel bad that I can't support a budget that's almost $500,000, because I do know that they're out here, and I do know what goes on in the night, during the day. But it makes me feel really bad that I can't support $500,000 budget.
Okay, so what's your recommendation? Do you have a?
Well, and I don't feel comfortable about passing the budget tonight either. I mean, we really haven't had a chance to look at it. So it was kind of all just kind of, I'd like to come back on it.
Would a suggestion be to have the budget committee and the council meet together to discuss this portion of the budget, because it's more political than economic?
Well, you have a couple options. That's
Yeah.
one. Second option would be, regular council meeting meets Tuesday night, and you can have them look at what you've already done with the other departments, and then have a joint meeting
Right.
after that meeting for just the police department, but.
Police and
Yeah.
code enforcement?
Right.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. Is that agreeable? So, council meets on Tuesday, they look at the budget that we've approved minus the police department and code enforcement.
Then
So
we
they
set
can pass that, and then we set a time
for,
that we can have a joint meeting, because this is really more than their bailiwick, and I don't wanna send, I don't think committee should send something that's so off from what the council wants to do, so we need to have, I think,
But if the code enforcement's already under contract,
right,
and there was nothing that we could really do, we couldn't do anything about it last time, why do we have to? Why aren't we
Good
presenting
point.
it on board?
good point, because
We
the
already
code,
recommended that one, didn't we?
no, because of the
The health
the insurance, but now that the chief's taking insurance, which he has a legal right to do that, I don't belittle it, it just puts him in an awkward position to have it come up like this. I agree, I see what you're saying, the code enforcement is
It's a
not
done
an
deal,
issue,
it
yeah.
was contracted thing.
So it's just the PD. I'm sure we will. And a suggestion for staff, in the future, when you put these out, could you date stamp them?
No.
So I don't get confused, which I do so very well.
I'm thinking if the council would be okay with a next Thursday night, is there a fire department meeting or anything on Thursday night?
We don't have anything next week.
So potentially Thursday night we could do a joint meeting?
If the weather's bad, I'll be here, if it's good, I won't be here.
Where you going?
Canada.
Oh, you're going to the one for
No, we're going to, an event over at the Perfect Playhouse.
The earliest we probably could do it would be Wednesday, and I get a hold of council chair Monday morning, and we could do Wednesday night, it'd take 3 days to put a public notice up.
Get folks to it on Wednesday.
Wednesday,
So they usually meet at 6:30,
they do,
6:30. Just to discuss the PD, everything else is going forward, just the 40,000 is probably part, that budget's going forward. Okay. Is that good? Okay, if you could do that. And I want to apologize for my outbursts. That was unprofessional on my part. And nothing personal, just,
apology accepted.
thank you.
Same with me.
We're down to business, public comment period. Any public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Vicki Belanger, 1100 Sheridan Road. I feel that if somebody works 32 hours, they should get paid for 32 hours. If they work 36 hours, they should get paid 36 hours. I don't know whatever happened to a 40-hour work week. Seems to have gone to the wayside. The police department, I feel they should be there 40 hours. I don't know if that's doable or not. But I always, being in hiring and HR and things like that, if somebody declines health insurance, they don't have to take it. Am I right? Like, did you decline it, or did you just say, I'm not gonna take it so I can have somebody else
You don't need to
work?
answer. This is just public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, but that's my
I
thought.
understand.
You know, I've had people that work for me before that will say, my husband has health insurance, I don't need that, so we take that out,
Right.
you know? So, I know in the beginning you had said that there's state police, and I think you said retirement or something. But I don't understand why somebody would wanna work 40 hours and get paid 32 hours so somebody could have health insurance. That's
Understand.
just, besides. And I just think 40-hour work week is a 40-hour work week. I'm sure when you guys all work full-time, you work 40 hours
Yeah,
or more.
times change.
Yeah, but, if you work 32 hours, you get paid 32 hours. You work 40 hours, you get paid 40 hours. End of it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, I do have one more thing, I'm sorry. Back when Sear was here and we got that new car, was it the Explorer or whatever, I thought that that was a grant. Somebody had given us $25,000 to,
Maybe the staff, maybe,
well,
excuse me?
it was, they said if,
Okay,
they said if we provide coverage for Portage and Nashville, we're gonna give you $25,000 towards, you're shaking your head,
okay,
Sherry, so it's right.
so let's, no, hang on. Let's
Okay.
just ask if staff could have that for, you know, at council meetings, that question comes up, staff will be able to answer that at the council meeting.
Okay, because I thought that at one of the
Yeah.
meetings,
Okay,
they
no.
said, we're gonna get this donation in exchange for coverage for Nashville and Portage. I don't know if anybody.
So staff will have an answer if it comes up at council meeting, okay? Because nobody knows right off the top of their head, we don't wanna do that, so. But, comment is noted for the record.
Thank you.
Anything else? Folks, I appreciate, sorry for the show, but, they say, making policies like making bologna, it's not a pretty sight.
Liverworth, yeah.
Liverwurst, yes, thanks for your time, and, we're adjourned.